Hey there, magical experimenters. Taylor Ellwood here. And today I thought I would talk about why we need to rest and recover in our mundane and spiritual lives. Before I get to that, if you are watching this video live or you're watching it later on, go ahead and hit the like button if you have found my videos of value and comment below, if something really speaks to you, and hit subscribe if you aren't already a subscriber, and make sure you click that bell. All right, so I wanted to talk about this topic of why we need to rest and recover today because I think it's really important, and really it was kind of prompted by a couple different things today. One was a comment from this fellow who said, I'm right now. I'm really just I keep struggling, and I realize I really just need to lie down and rest and recover. And I'm like, okay, man, I feel that, and I wrote back to him, and I'm like, it's okay to need that time to rest and recover. Sometimes we just need to lay there when we hit bottom and just give ourselves that. And I'm going to talk about that a bit more later. And at the same time, I gave myself today. I wrapped up DoorDash yesterday. I'm not DoorDashing anymore. I'm starting my new job, my new day job on Wednesday. I'm gonna, of course, be working on other things because I really don't want to do work for other people any longer than I have to. But um, and speaking of which, by the way, pre-order the new book, Inner Alchemy of Internal Work. It's coming out June 15th. And the link is below in the description. But I realized that I needed to give myself some time off. Like, part of me was like, okay, I've got Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. I start work on Wednesday. I got to get all these things done. I was like, no, man, you got to take Sunday for yourself. Like, after this video, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna read for a while and relax. And earlier today, I decided to mm, well, enjoy the company of a person, and that was quite wonderful. It's been a while since I've enjoyed the company of a person. And I got some really good food. And yes, I do trade stocks as a side hustle. That's just one of the many things I do as side hustles, including writing books, to the person from Canada who is commenting on here. Hi there, by the way. So, anyway, let's talk about resting and recovering. Because here's the thing, what I find is that most people end up burning themselves out because they're always trying to work, 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 work. They're trying to squeeze in every single spare moment to getting something done. And it's an interesting thing because the reason why people work so hard is because we've been hit with this notion that we always have to be productive. Now, one of the books I'm reading right now is Scarcity by Sindhir Mullathane and Elder Shaffer. And they talk about how people who are constantly in a state of scarcity are always tunneling. They never have enough of anything. And they're not just talking about people being poor. They're talking about people who are always like trying to fill everything in their lives, like trying to fill every single freaking moment of their lives with something. And I'm rereading that book because at some point I'm going to be writing another book on a topic along those lines. So I thought, should read it. And I think it just kind of really hit home for me, like how over the last few years, one of the lessons that I've learned, and I learned it the hard way, is that I can't work all the time, that I do need to build in time to just rest and relax and recover. Because when you don't, you inevitably hit burnout and you go down into hitting bottom. I did that in 2017 with my coaching business. I did it in August after I quit the job, and I ended up basically, um, ended up meeting somebody and emotionally cheating on my wife, and then almost got a divorce, and then ended up getting a divorce here, a couple months ago. And this time around, at least, when I decided to go ahead and get the divorce after all, because like things were just not going to work, and it was emotionally and spiritually not, I wasn't in a good space. I needed to take care of my mental health. I decided to build some time in to just rest and recover. I mean, I found the DoorDash thing right away just as a way to stopgap, you know, any financial needs I had. But I made sure that, I took one day off a week where I really just didn't do anything, just read and relaxed and did Qigong and other stuff to take care of myself. So I think, when we learn how to build that into our lives, we find that life becomes a lot easier. And when we don't build it into our lives, what ends up happening is we hit bottom, and then we're forced to kind of lay there. The person who commented earlier on one of my other videos, who basically said just that, like, I'm just like, I'm struggling, and I just want to lie there. I'm like, hey man, go ahead and do that. Like, it is okay to go there and just lie down. Like, don't force yourself to do something you shouldn't do. Like, don't force yourself to try and climb up the walls again. You're not ready. When we build rest and recovery into our mundane and spiritual practices, what ends up happening is that we actually give ourselves that space to reflect on things. We learn our lessons instead of continuing to try and do stuff. Back in 2017, when I realized I was going to have to get a day job, I tried to do every single thing I could to not do that day job. I mean, I was doing magical workings left and right. None of them really panned out because I was going up against Neptune's current at the time, for one thing. And Neptune was just the Neptunic planetary energy is kind of the thing. Like, if it's working against you, you're not going anywhere, because it's that kind of power to it. It is power. It's chakma in the Kabbalah. And at the same time, I was taking more online marketing classes from online marketing bros, and that wasn't working because online marketing bros are all about this the scammy side of hustling, right? They don't really they'll give you lots of promises, but they don't really tell you how to execute. Is my experience. And so, I was trying everything, trying not to fall down that pit, and I fell. And I ended up taking a job at a customer support center, and it was just like, and like, for the first couple of months, I kept trying to like get out of that, and I realized at a certain point, I was like, I'm not going to get anywhere. This isn't going to change. And so then I spent the next half a year just chilling out, reading books, meditating, taking care of myself, and doing that job. And I mean, there were days it was really hard. I had to really just kind of be present with myself, kind of like what I recently went through with DoorDash, in terms of just working through the divorce and all the lessons I've learned. But it was really good for me because it forced me to rest and recover and relax. And I stopped trying so damn hard to get somewhere. Instead, I started to focus on taking care of me. And eventually I came to a point where I realized, okay, I don't want to coach people anymore. I honestly don't enjoy coaching people. I really don't enjoy interacting with people that much at all, at least in that kind of context. What I want to do is I want to focus on my writing, something I'd always dreamed about doing, becoming a full-time writer. So I started learning about being an indie author, and I took all my books back and from the small publisher I was with, and published them myself, and discovered, hey, this is a pretty viable income stream. And like, even now, it is a very viable income stream. It's just not quite enough yet to where I need it to be to cover all my bills. But hey, the fact that I can actually even cover some of those bills and still have money to put into that business is pretty freaking amazing in my mind. And of course, it's not, like I said, it's not the only side hustle that I'm doing, because like, I am trading stocks. I am doing some other things. I'm not going to get into all of that right now. But the thing that I want you guys to realize is that, there are going to be moments in your life where you're going to be struggling, and you're going to be trying to do the best you can. And what you need to do sometimes is just stop, take a breath, and rest and relax and allow yourself to hit bottom and be at the bottom. And I know being at the bottom sucks. Like nobody wants to be at the bottom. And in our world, whether you're the problem you see is that most people won't talk about it either. Like I'm one of the few people who's going to level with you and say this is just a reality. Most of the most of the occult bros out there, and I'm not an occult bro, okay? I don't even think of myself as such. If you do, well, please. You haven't been watching my videos for very long or gotten to know me, but I'm not an occult bro. But the occult bros out there, the ones who are like all like, talking about magic and every day, and they're like acting like they've never done anything wrong and they've never failed or anything like that. Like, don't buy it. They've failed. They've messed up. But they're not comfortable talking about that because heavens forbid that you actually show you're a real human being. Well, I mean, the reality is we're all real human beings. We all screw up. We all make mistakes. We all fall apart. And if we give ourselves time to fall apart, then we actually can put ourselves back together again a lot quicker than if we fight it. So for me, it's really been interesting because like this time around, I got divorced. Basically, my ex and I decided to get divorced at the beginning of April, and it was friendly. It was just kind of an understanding of we love each other very much, but this isn't going to work anymore. And so we were able to lovingly part ways and give each other the out that we. And this time around, like I of course I had to do DoorDash. I had to find some way to bring some money in, beyond just writing books. Cause like I said, like I'm writing books and it brings in some money, but it's not like the end all be all quite yet. And what ended up happening though is that yes, I was having to do a fair amount of rushing around. I mean, I had to, of course, get the divorce paperwork taken care of and finalized. I had to, get mail sent over to the new place, get other things taken care of. And I'm still in a transitory place. Like I'm staying with a friend right now. I'm starting to look for a place to live. Woohoo, yay me, with a friend of mine that's going to be moving up from California. But like these are things that are happening. And this time around, I didn't feel like I had to struggle at all. I wasn't trying to climb up a pit. I was at the bottom, but I was just resting and relaxing and being mindful and just taking the steps I needed to take to kind of get things expedited. Started looking for work for a day job to provide a base level of financial security and health benefits. Cause I'm like, all right, if I'm going to start all over again with my life, I kind of need to have some things taken care of so I don't have to worry about them, at least for the moment. So that then as I focus more on, building my businesses up to the point where I don't need to do something during the day, I have all those necessary concerns taken care of so that I can do that and I can get myself to the point where I need to go. Well, when you approach things that strategically, it's amazing how things come into play. Like, I mean, really, it was in the middle of April that my friend from California contacted me and she's like, "Hey, I'm thinking about moving up to Portland. Do you want to start up a magic temple with me?" And I'm like, this is a person I haven't talked to in a long time, but I've always wanted to work with her more. And I'm like, yes, let's do it. And then, we both kind of needed to sort out our job situation. So I did some magical work around that for both her and me. And I mean, things within a month had gotten sorted out where we gotten jobs. And like now I'm done with DoorDash. And next week, on the 13th of June, I'm actually getting my fingers tattooed, including this one, which is the marriage tattoo. I'm going to get that changed. It's going to have the word bard on this hand and then the word mage. Don't worry, I'll do a video afterwards so you guys can see it. Because, and what's interesting about it is that it's happening on my ex-wife's birthday. So it's like I'm reclaiming this space for me on her birthday, on her day of power. It's kind of like I'm reclaiming my power. And I think that's really powerful. And I'm excited about it, because I need that, I need to reclaim that. That's part of me taking my life back in full. And I think, this is where that rest and recovery comes into play. If I tried to do all the things all at once, like tried to solve all the problems, it wouldn't have happened. I would have just spiraled out of control. But instead, I built that rest and recovery into what I was doing. And I allowed myself to winter. Oh, you're going to say, well, what do you mean by winter, Taylor? Well, what I mean by winter is that, we all have different seasons in our lives. Um, we have our spring, our summer, and our fall, and our winter. Well, really, if I think about it, I've been wintering I wintered in 2017, and then I ended up wintering in from August on through April, through April, May, yeah, June. But I'm coming out of wintering. I mean, I'm still doing some grieving around the marriage, but overall, like, I'm more productive than I've been in a long time. I've got the new book coming out next week, a week after next, I guess, really. I mean, it's Sunday. And I'm working on this new book called Inner Alchemy of Wintering. And Inner Alchemy of Wintering is really all about how to deal with spiritual burnout, how to take care of yourself, how to rest and recover. Why do we need to do that? Because if we don't, we do hit the wall. We need to give ourselves time to winter. We need to give ourselves time to grieve, time to be sorrowful, time to learn from our failures. We don't have to get right back into the ring and start fighting again. We don't have to climb up the wall again. And too many people don't do that. They just fight it. They try to fight their white knuckle through. And you can do that to a certain point. But I find that as you and maybe this is a reflection more on age, but as you get older, you start to realize that you don't necessarily need to be that resilient, and that you need to keep your resiliency for the times when things are starting to really work for you. That by resting and recovering, you build up those reserves of energy. You build up the things that you need to do to take care of yourself. And that's really important. So the more that you allow yourself to settle into a situation where things haven't worked out, the more you breathe and hold space with it. And you can practice Taoist water breathing meditation, which I highly recommend. You can do Doge Chin, you can do other things, but just allow yourself to be. That's what I really did each day. I was driving around in DoorDash, and I think that what I liked about doing DoorDash, I didn't enjoy the driving because I don't like being in a car all day. I really didn't enjoy dealing with the entitled people who were getting food. I mean, some of those people were nice, but a lot of them weren't tippers or anything like that. So it was kind of, not so fun. But what I enjoyed about it is that it gave me, and I don't even know if it's enjoy, but what it did is it gave me time to rest and reflect and think. Because here I am in the car. I can't do anything else but drive around and drop off food. And so I just have to sit with my problems. I have to sit with my failures. I have to sit with my pain and my fear and my anger and all these other things and deal with it. How often do we give ourselves that time? I basically got 2 months from the beginning of April through the beginning of June to just have that time to work through things, because I loved myself enough to do it. And that, my friends, is what you really need to do. You need to love yourself enough to give yourself time in whatever form or way. It doesn't have to be doing DoorDash. I mean, in my case, DoorDash was out of necessity. But give yourself that space and time to just reflect and learn. Give yourself that time to winter and take care of yourself. Because when you allow yourself to fully be present in your suffering, that suffering doesn't last. You start to accept the tension, accept the anger, the fear, and all these other things. And this may sound strange. Like, why? What do you mean accept? I mean that you hold space with it. You allow yourself to be with it. You don't fight it. So many people fight their emotions. They fight what they're feeling. We don't want to do that. We want to hold space with it. And however way you do that, you want to give yourself space to do it. And as you do that, eventually it dissolves and releases, and you find yourself in a better space. I mean, there would be days where I would start door dashing and I would be in a shitty mood. I kid you not. But by the end of the day, I'd be in a mood where I was happy and joyful because I had just held space with those emotions. I didn't fight them. I I didn't try and make something different or make something happen. I just accepted that I needed to be where I was at. And it's really telling for me because I didn't really start doing any practical magic around trying to change anything in my life for like the first month or so of this. Like most of April, I didn't really do anything. It wasn't until the end of April really that I was like, all right, it's time for me to start doing some magic. And even when I did magic, I actually did it for my friend first because I basically was like, she needed to land this job. She really wanted this one particular job. And I was like, I wanted to help her because she's going to be my magical partner. And I was like, all right, like for me, that was significant. I was like, all right, this person is committing to this. So I'm going to commit to her and show her that I can help her out. And so, the magical work that I did initially was around helping her out. And within a couple weeks, she ended up landing that job. There's a little bit of troubleshooting that needed to happen, but I took care of that. And lo and behold, there she is. She's got the dream job she wants. And then after that, that's when I did the practical magic for me, because by getting her to that place, I was like, all right, well, now she's going to be ready to start looking for a place to live. And I can't do that on DoorDash alone or on my book income. So I was like, I need to get something a little more stable. And I did. But I waited until the time was right. I didn't try to force it. I didn't try to push myself through. I allowed myself to winter. So learning to not fight the situation that you're in, learning to just rest and relax in the current. That's what Neptune taught me, really, back in 2017, because I was trying to fight Neptune, wasn't going to win. This time around, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to fight it. I'm just going to accept that this is where I'm at, and I'm going to ride the current and flow with it. And I might direct it a little bit here and there. And that's what I did with my magical work. That's going to be a future book on generative magic, which I'll be sharing with you guys. But the inner alchemy of wintering is really about that process. And you're going to get that book too eventually. I'm working on it now, on the second chapter. But it's also why I ended up writing the inner alchemy of internal work. It's kind of funny. I wrote the inner alchemy of internal work, which is coming out in a couple weeks. And I wrote it because it's like, here I am doing the internal work. Here I am doing the meditation and the dissolving and all this other stuff. It was so appropriate that as I was writing the book, I was doing the practices. Not that I haven't been doing them before that, because I have. I've been doing them since 2004. But it was really telling for me that like this book came together as I was having to really live this stuff more in some ways than I ever had before. I live it every day, but like when you have a situation come up in your life and you have to rely upon these skills that you're doing, it forces you to fully become present with what you need to do. So folks, again, if you get a chance, hit the like button. Thank you for the comments, by the ways. I really appreciate that. And if you haven't already subscribed, hit that subscribe button and click the bell notification. That way I'm going live. And otherwise, take care of yourselves. Give yourself space to rest and relax. If you've hit bottom, allow yourself to be at the bottom. You will recover, okay? Trust me on this. I have hit bottom so many times in my life, and I've risen each time. Maybe one day you'll hit the ultimate bottom of death, but even then you'll recover. You'll just recover in a different form, right? But just don't be in a hurry to solve all your problems. Your problems will find solutions. There will be solutions there, but sometimes you just got to give yourself space to be with the problem and fully figure out what your role in it is. All right, take care of yourselves and have a great and awesome Sunday.